Hello everybody, my name is Tino and welcome to Think Literary. I hope you're having an epic day. Today we're going to be reviewing the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is by an unknown author because of its age. So this is the Epic of Gilgamesh. So I'm going to be referring to my little Nizot card right here. So I just have a couple notes that I want to cover. So I'm going to be keeping my focus. But my attention's on you. So I'm hoping that I could help some people out who are maybe in college or high school writing a book report, and just help those people out who want a little bit of perspective on this. So this is going to serve as a refresher or an introduction for everybody out there. The way I'm going to style this book review is I'm going to first go throughout the plot of the book. I'm going to go throughout the chapters, and then I'm going to be talking about, some deeper ideas of the book. So I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be fun. Maybe it won't be fun, but it'll be alright, and I hope you join me. So, let's get into the basics. First, this book is no author. It is an old book, so it was collected from a variety of sources. It's not an original, it was, different. It was basically written on stone tablets, and then they found multiple stone tablets from different time periods, and they edited them all together. It is patchy. It does have it does have missing parts, so it's not perfect, but it's readable and you can get through it, and you have a cohesive story all the way through. This is 200 pages. The book itself is 200 pages, but the Epic of Gilgamesh is actually only 100 pages. So this has quite a long introduction in this book, and that other 100 pages is actually, sorry, my nose itches. That other 100 pages is going to be a little bit, it's going to be like analyzing the individual tablets, and then there's a little, there's a couple stories in here that aren't included in this book, really short ones, which I did not read just because I wanted to just read the Epic of Gilgamesh. So this is published by Penguin Classics, as you can see. This is, a well-known format. Penguin Classics, you know it if you're a reader. It's just, it. Yeah, so this is Penguin Classics, so yeah, it's classic and it's Penguin. This is, I'm not sure who's the translator on this, but, it's an academic translation, written 4,000 years ago. So this was written in 2000 BC, so I don't know about you, viewer, all you guys out there, but this is the oldest book that I've read. So, yeah, so it's an old book, and that's all I have to say. Let's get into it. Let's talk about this plot. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to just go through the chapters. It's going to be probably a little bit weird because, I didn't study this book for like, a week. I just read it, so I'm just going to be going through and... Alright. So, the Gilgamesh epic. It's Babylonian. That was the culture during that time. That was, Babylon. Think of like Iran sort of a thing. That area of Iran. So the Epic of Gilgamesh, also known as He Who Saw the Deep. The deep meaning the underworld, guys, but it can also mean guys and ladies, mans and womans. This is He Who Saw the Deep, meaning the underworld, but it can also mean the ocean, but it means more the underworld, but he did go to the bottom of the ocean. So he saw the deep in multiple ways. Okay, so it starts off with the first tablet. This is organized into tablets. Sorry about that. This is organized into tablets, but I'm going to call those tablets chapters. Okay? So the first is the coming of Enkidu. Who is Enkidu? Well, Enkidu is basically Gilgamesh's sidekick throughout this book. Enkidu was raised in the wilderness. Think of a caveman. That's basically what Enkidu is he's a wild man. Okay? He is... When I was younger and I read this in high school, or, was forced to read this in high school and didn't really read much of it, Enkidu was, I thought of him as, like, having, like, a deer's head and, like, being, like, really cool and stuff like that. But really, he's just a very hairy man who's very hairy and strong and acts like an animal and can, like, run as fast as, like, a sheep, or not a sheep, but can run really fast, and, like, he just... is raised among the animals until he's probably like in his 20s or something, so he's like full-on animal. And when yeah, so he's a wild man. Okay, really strong, super fast, like superhuman, like superpowers. Okay, think superpowers. So he is, you know, a prostitute comes up to him, and he has sex with the prostitute to get you know, to get into it. So he has sex with a prostitute, and that prostitute, in the process of doing that, she basically civilizes him, where he kind of, you know, he becomes, I can have conversations with people. He speaks, you know, their language, and he's, you know, she, I think, wants him to become king. She's just like, hey, I want you to, you're gonna become king, and you're gonna go fight Gilgamesh. So in the process of him being civilized, Enkidu kind of loses some of his powers. There's a part in this book where it says he can't run as fast as the other things, and he just doesn't hang out with them anymore. So he loses a little bit of his powers, but he's still, you know, super strong compared to other people. He goes to fight Gilgamesh. Okay, he wants to fight Gilgamesh. Okay, so he goes to fight him, and they fight, and Gilgamesh actually wins. Enkidu is described as shorter than Gilgamesh, but stronger. But in this situation, Gilgamesh wins. I want to make clear to you that this book starts off with Gilgamesh as a jerk. Gilgamesh is just kind of like a destroyer. He just wants to win. He's like, you know, he just wants to like destroy, and like he's just plundering and like killing people and trying to just gain land, and like he's just a jerk, you know what I mean, like a bully. So when he fights Enkidu, after he fights, he's like, man, you beat me up, but now I'm your friend. So he becomes his sidekick after that, and kind of tones down Gilgamesh a little bit. I get the vibe of that, and that's that. So Gilgamesh and Enkidu, we're getting down. They're going to the forests of cedar. You can see this in chapter 3 and chapter 4. They're going to a place called the Forest of Cedar. Forest of Cedar is a forest that people don't really go to. Okay, it's kind of just out there. You know, everybody has that forest on, you know, their village. You know, it's like you're living in your village, and there's that forest out there, and everybody's like, dude, you know, like you know, that forest, you know what I mean, that forest that's out there, and like there's like bears and stuff in there, and like, you know, there's leopards, and they often kill people. You know what I'm talking about, just that forest. I'm just joking around, but there's a forest, and people don't go there because it's, you know, it's deep forest, and it's just represents kind of the opposite of civilization, I guess. So Gilgamesh and Enkidu go on a quest there. In the process, they fight a lion, I think, and when they fight, I want to make it clear to you that Enkidu kind of tells Gilgamesh what to do. Enkidu's like, you know, I'll do this, and you stab him there, and then Gilgamesh does it, and they win. It's wrapped up within a matter of sentences, you know, like 2 sentences. They meet something, and then they kill it. Sometimes they do like some sacrificial weird, like, you know, pagan people stuff where they like cut its limbs off and do all this weird stuff. But the important part, and what you're going to be, if this is like a school thing for you, is to know that they're conquering, that they're battling things, and they're winning every time. They can't not win. So they go to the forest of cedar. It's like a dark, mystical place. Enkidu leads Gilgamesh there. Enkidu's been there before. Enkidu's kind of a boss. He knows like nature and stuff. He's one of those people who's like, those are like, you know, that's a raccoon track. He knows stuff about nature. So they fight with this being called Humbaba, which you can think of as the god of the forest. He's like the ultimate boss of the forest. Gilgamesh and Enkidu fight that guy, and again, Enkidu tells Gilgamesh what to do, and Humbaba is killed by them. After this, they leave, they win, they're winners. They can't not win. Then they go and they fight Ishtar, the bull of heaven. As you can see, that is Ishtar, the bull of heaven. That's a photograph of the real Ishtar, the bull of heaven. That's him right there. This is a stone carving of Enkidu. I mean, of Ishtar, the bull from heaven. So they fight that thing, and they kill that thing as well. Okay, the same style as the other kills, bro. Same style. And then they get back, and they're heroes and all that stuff. They're just winners, and everybody knows it. Okay, they treat them that way. But unfortunately, Enkidu, he's a weird guy. So he's asleep. He has a dream that he's gonna die. He has a dream that he's going to the underworld, all this, you know, scary stuff. And then he wakes up and he dies. Then they have a funeral for him. Gilgamesh is super upset. Enkidu is his best friend, and he knows that Enkidu is, you know, the brains behind the operation. So Gilgamesh is like, I want to live forever, and then becomes, you know, the theme becomes clear. He wants to be immortal. He wants to live forever. So he tries to do this. He goes to the underworld, guys and girls. He goes to the straight up underworld. He goes under the world to become immortal. So he meets with the god of the underworld. You know, the god of the underworld is married. He has a wife. She's the goddess of the underworld. Okay, so he meets with the two of them, and the god and the goddess of the underworld are like, basically, you can be immortal, but you just have to stay awake for like 7 days. And then Gilgamesh is like, yeah, I can do that. And he falls asleep like right after he agrees to it. He falls asleep, sleeps for 7 days. It is a weird thing. They don't like bring out a calendar or like show on their cell phones. They're like, they just bake they bake a loaf of bread every day, lay it out in front of him, and then he'll choose. And then by the process of those loaves of bread rotting in the underworld, they have this big oven in the underworld where they just cook bread in. It's pretty cool. He wakes up and they're like, dude, you slept for like 7 days. Look at all this bread. We made this bread for you and now it's rotten. It's gone moldy. So that's what happens. But the god in the underworld is like, hey, you can't stay awake, but you, Gilgamesh right there, if you go to the ocean, go to the bottom of it, you can get some coral. Take up that coral with you, and that will make you immortal. You just have to eat it. I think it's coral. It might be vegetation of some kind. All that matters is that it's from the bottom of the ocean, okay? So he gets it. Then he camps out for the night. And as per usual, you know, typical Babylonia, or typical Samaria, should I say, a snake steals his coral of immortality, or vegetation, or whatever it is. A snake steals it. And Gilgamesh is like, dude, I can't be mortal anymore. That's it. He cannot be immortal anymore. He lost his chance. He can't find where he went. He doesn't know where it was because they told him a specific location. He's like, I don't even know where I was. He's not going to be able to find it again. He cannot be immortal. That's it. Okay? Then he goes back to his, he goes back to Samaria to become king again. And that's it. It kind of starts, it's like a loop. So the beginning is same as the ending. The same verses that are said in the beginning are said in the ending. And hopefully, I'm hoping at least, that Gilgamesh is going to be a little bit of a better kind of king to all these people, because, you got to be tender to these people that are your subjects. So that's it. That's the plot of it, guys and girls. So let's talk about the ladies. Let's talk about ladies and fellas. Let's talk about some deeper understanding. I'm going to make this quick, all right? I'm just going to throw some stuff out for you. You can mull over on it in your private time. Just think about this, Just have a nice time. Think about it. All right. What kind of hero is Gilgamesh? Think about that. What kind of hero is he? There's different kinds of heroes, There's a lot of epics, all right? If you didn't know, there's a lot of epics. So what kind of hero is Gilgamesh? You need to think about that, because by thinking about that, you're thinking about who people wrote this book about Gilgamesh, okay? So what kind of a hero did they want to make? What was important to them? Okay, what was important to this group of people that they chose this hero for? All right? So you can think about, for example, Gilgamesh is really strong. Must have been important back then, right? Gilgamesh is really strong. Must have been important. He has other characteristics, though he is pretty basic, but it shows you what was important to people back then. Another thing is it shows immortality. Big deal back then, right? People back then only lived to be like 30. So immortality was a big thing, If they saw an 80-year-old right now, they'd be like, that guy is immortal, okay? So immortality was a big thing. He probably went down to the bottom of that ocean and got some kale or something like that, some sea vegetation, and they were like, that stuff is healthy. He could live a long time. Too bad the snake ate it. That is a big part of this. You have to think about what were the people thinking about that wrote this book, okay? What was important to them that made them encapsulated in this book? I also want you to kind of think about gender in this book. Why is the only female character in this book a prostitute? And the thing is in this book, they're not like, that prostitute sucks. They're like, she's just a prostitute, and they kind of value her for that. They don't call her names. They don't do anything like that. She just is what she is. And her most important characteristics are, she kind of is a guider, and she also is a She also is beautiful. Okay, so those two things were very important back then. And compare that to female characters in modern